Benanav from Abundant Housing.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing all right.
Thanks for sticking around.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's been interesting hearing a lot of good stuff being said. I want to thank you, Chair Haggerty, Chair Sear, members of the committee, for inviting me to speak today. I'm Jesse Kansan-Benanav, Executive Director at Abundant Housing, Massachusetts. Abundant Housing, or AMA for short, we're a statewide pro-housing advocacy organization. Our motto is Massachusetts is for everyone. We work towards a future with abundant and affordable housing options for all of Massachusetts residents, present and future. I want to begin by thanking the committee and really the entire legislature for the action you've taken to address the housing shortage these past few sessions. I know a lot of folks have mentioned already MBTA Communities Act, the Affordable Homes Act in particular, the legalization of accessory dwelling units by right throughout the Commonwealth. These landmark pieces of legislation will make meaningful progress towards building the homes that we desperately need in our Commonwealth. Unfortunately, even with this important action, we are far from that future we envision. As we all know, we have some of the highest housing costs in the nation. Here in Massachusetts, renters across the state are routinely spending 30, 40, even 50% or more of their income on rent. The situation, of course, is not much better for potential home buyers, with the price of a single family home continuing to rise. And according to one study, a prospective home buyer in Massachusetts now needs to make nearly $175,000 to afford the median price. That's a 40% increase since 2020. Driving these high housing costs is our extreme housing shortage. For decades now, we have simply not built enough homes that match people's budgets and needs. This has led to cutthroat competition and bidding wars between prospective renters and home buyers for the few apartments, condos, and single-family homes on the market. At the end of the day, housing costs increase for everyone across the Commonwealth. As we've already talked about today, earlier this year, the Housing Advisory Council, appointed by Governor Healy and chaired by the Lieutenant Governor, released the statewide housing plan, which includes that detailed analysis of the state's housing needs. And we know the top line number from that report is we need to produce the additional 200 to 22,000 new homes over the next 10 years to address this crisis. That's equal to roughly 7% of the state's current housing stock. So if that number is our North Star, how are we going to reach it? According to the Healy administration, the Affordable Homes Act, and I believe Secretary Augustus mentioned this, is projected to support the production, preservation, and rehabilitation of approximately 65,000 homes statewide over the next 5 years. Of those 65,000 homes, up to 10,000 of those are projected to be accessory dwelling units. The MBTA Communities Act could lead to another 40,000 units over the next 10 years. These are important, and even if these projections hold up, there is clearly still need for further legislative action to get us to those 200 to 22,000 new homes. This past year, I was honored to be appointed by Governor Healy to serve on the Unlocking Housing Production Commission that's been mentioned a few times today. The commission brought together civic leaders, local officials, industry representatives, labor leaders to develop this set of policy recommendations on how we can unlock housing production across the Commonwealth. On this commission, I was privileged to co-chair the Land Use Subcommittee, where we conducted analysis of what land use and zoning reform policies will best position us to create the new homes that we need. Among the recommendations we eventually landed on, there are a few that I'd like to highlight here in particular. First, we need to expand access to housing by continuing to remove barriers to multifamily housing production. Specifically, the commission recommended allowing up to 4 homes on all lots connected to public water and sewer, and up to 2 homes on all other lots, and requiring every municipality to have at least one zoning district where multifamily housing can be built by right. Second, as the previous panel addressed, we need to address lot sizes in Massachusetts. Surprisingly, we have some of the largest lot sizes across the country. The median lot size is just under 20,000 square feet, roughly half an acre. This not only increases housing costs, as the price of land is such a huge factor in the cost of new development, but it also threatens our agricultural industry, forests, and other natural resources as new development sprawls further and further out. We recommended eliminating minimum lot sizes and making it easier to subdivide large lots into smaller lots for residential use. And third, costly parking mandates significantly hamper our ability to build new affordable homes. Off-street parking spaces and garages drive up the cost of new housing by potentially adding thousands of dollars per unit and take up space that could be used for new homes. Furthermore, there's a strong body of evidence that arbitrary parking requirements force homeowners to build more parking than is actually needed or utilized. We recommend eliminating parking minimums so that builders can build more homes, not more parking. While I believe these recommendations are great, they are just that, recommendations. There are several bills before this committee that would turn the recommendations I just mentioned into law, plus several other important policies. The first, just to mention it, is an act to promote Yes in My Backyard, sponsored by Reps Vargas and Honan and Senator Crichton. This bill would allow up to 5 lots on homes connected to water and sewer and up to 3 on all other lots. It would legalize apartments around public transit statewide, eliminate minimum lot sizes, make it easier to build starter homes by creating as-of-right division for lot splitting into residential use, and eliminate parking minimums statewide, and a number of other policy items. The second bill I wanted to mention is an act to study single-stair residential buildings. So this bill would create a commission of experts to study how we can make mid-sized residential buildings easier and more affordable to build by eliminating the outdated requirement for a second staircase. Originally put in place as fire safety measures, improvements in fire safety technology, such as sprinklers and smoke control systems, along with a growing body of research indicating the safety and efficiency of single-stair buildings, should prompt a reassessment of this rule. The Boston Foundation study recently estimated approximately 130,000 homes in Greater Boston alone could be produced if we legalized single staircase buildings up to 6 stories. In addition to these 2 bills I've mentioned, there are several other bills before your committee that would make meaningful progress towards addressing the housing solutions. We have an ADU trust fund that would provide resources to take what's been legalized as of right and allow low and moderate income homeowners to access grants or loans to build ADUs on their properties. Other bills have been mentioned today, YIGB bill, site plan review. Also wanted to mention a bill to legalize movable tiny homes here in Massachusetts. Finally, I want to direct your attention, and I appreciate that the secretary mentioned this in his remarks, to a poll commissioned by my organization, Abundant Housing, and conducted by Massing Polling Group that finds strong majorities of Massachusetts voters support building more homes in their own communities, even when it means potential changes to neighborhood character or in local decision-making. Some key findings of this survey are 81% of voters support lawmakers passing an additional legislation to make it easier to build more homes and a greater variety of housing options across the Commonwealth. 71% of voters say building more homes that people can afford is more important than protecting traditional neighborhood character. 63% of voters say that building more homes and bringing down costs is more important than preserving local control over what type of housing gets built and where. And strong majorities of voters support the specific policies included in the Act to Promote Yes in My Backyard and the Act to Study Single-Stair Residential Buildings. We believe this voter survey provides strong evidence that Massachusetts voters broadly support building more homes in the Commonwealth, in their communities across the Commonwealth. Furthermore, when presented with several policies that make it easier to build more homes, majorities of voters supported each one. As the committee and legislature considers taking action this year, I encourage you to take confidence in the fact that Massachusetts voters are pro-housing. My team and I have already shared detailed findings with you and your staff, but I have printed copies of our summary polling memo that I'm happy to make available to members of the committee today. Myself, as well as the team at Massing Polling Group, are also ready and willing to dive deeper into the details, into the results of this poll with members of the committee. I want to thank you again for inviting me to speak today. It's been a privilege to represent Abundant Housing Massachusetts before this committee. Thank you.
Thanks so much for being here. Thanks for your good work.
Thanks for having me.
Questions?
I just have a real quick comment,
Yeah,
sure.
and thank you for coming. And you mentioned this issue of character. It comes up a lot when we
Yeah.
have conversations in communities. And what I always remind people about, the character of our communities is also the people who live here.
Yeah.
And we're going to lose that. People who serve the town, work in the town, have been in the town their whole lives. So it comes up all the time. I grew up in a small New England town. I love that look. But it's got to be balanced by who we are. So.
Yeah, and the concept of character is something I hear, across the Commonwealth. We did a panel together a few months ago in your district. I also hear it in more urban communities like Boston and Cambridge. Everyone's trying to protect their community character, it seems like. But the reality is most folks represent that building homes that people can afford for people is the most important thing.
Further questions? Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Next, we have Head Ehrlich.